All right, I'm here at Ottawa Comiccon with Melinda Clarke.
Hi.
We just wrapped up our press conference. A lot of people excited that you're coming. You've touched on so many different pieces of work in your career. But someone told me you have a podcast now. Can you talk to me a bit about that?
I do. There was a show that I did that we celebrated for a little bit. Some people might know what that show might be.
Right, of
I
course.
did it with Rachel Bilson.
Okay.
And we celebrated the show that we were on. Obviously, we're speaking in terms that I think follow SAG rules right now. After we finished that podcast, I wanted to continue the same format to celebrate television, film, and people that we love. And in that respect, it obviously, I had Tate Donovan and Candace King and Shane West, all these people that I've worked with, Robert England, all lined up. And I thought maybe I could continue the podcast. It's called Bye Bitches, by the way, because the other one was called Welcome to the Bitches. And I used to say Bye Bitches at the end, so it just seemed apropos to do it that way. And I do it with my daughter because she's 23
nice.
and she's Gen Z, I'm Gen X.
Right.
And, I'm introducing her to things from the 80s, and she's kind of... Well, she's trying to keep it current, you know.
Yeah.
But we found with the SAG strike that not being able to discuss our work in detail was a little constricting.
Sure.
So I put my interviews with all of my fellow thespians on hold.
Yep.
And now we have dove into reality, which is allowed by the SAG strike. So right now we went back and watched the very first season of Survivor, which is the show, because we're trying to explore cultural impact of television, film, and all these people.
Sure.
Survivor, of course, there were other reality shows before that, but it really changed reality TV
And they were
as we know it.
Well, yeah, and they were also a product of a strike as well, where people were on strike and they had to. It was a writer's strike, I believe. That started that.
It really grew in 2007, 2008. But if you go back as far as 2000, Survivor and Big Brother and those shows were original. They were the original shows came from Europe.
Right.
But the fact that there was 51 million people watching the finale of the original Survivor, and we just interviewed Kelly Wigglesworth, and that's coming up actually, and it really changed television, and it's now it's prime time. Yeah. And if a reality show can do better or almost as good as the Super Bowl, I think they're going to continue that kind of thing financially. It's a big deal. We were lucky to get 8 million, or even nowadays you're lucky to get 1 million.
Yeah.
So we're exploring that, and now we're into season 2, Australian Outback, interviewing those contestants, and it's been really interesting. It's fun.
It's got to be fun for someone who, I imagine, because you've been, you've had a long career, and you've had a great career, and you've done so many different levels of productions, I'm sure, over the years. It must be fun to be able to do something like a podcast, where I imagine you have a little bit more creative control, where you're able to just be like, hey, no, I don't want to do an episode next week, and we'll do an episode this week, or we'll do 2. You can just open your mic and you can go. I know there's production.
You're so right, because I took some time. I'm doing some conventions and Comic-Cons that are allowed. Yeah. Because first of all, I want to say that it's really an honor to do these. I love how it's become such. It's not. When I was starting in the 90s, this wasn't a normal thing. Right. It's become a normal part of our job. Yeah. I think we're here to celebrate the things that we've done, and also to thank the people that support us. Yeah. And I love meeting new people, and something I did 30 years ago, people are telling me about it today. Yeah. It's and special. It's amazing how it's grown in popularity. This little horror film that I did. So one of the things that I was able to do, to answer your question, was, I banked a bunch of episodes, and I'm taking a month off. Yeah. And so it's really rewarding. Just even the fact that I think I can say this, on Wednesday, I was on the picket line in front of Fox Studios with the people from, I can say this because we were, it was called Welcome to the Picket Line, Bitch. It was the writers, it was Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage, the creators of the show that Rachel and I were celebrating. And so many people came up to me and said, the actors, writers, every week interviewed everybody, and they said it was a very healing thing because something 20 years ago, there's nothing's perfect. There's, on a scale of 1 to 10, there's every number applies at any given moment. And there was apparently a lot of healing that went on between, the creators of the show and some of the actors. And it was really an honor to interview everyone. And had we not done that, I wouldn't have sat down with McGee or Josh Schwartz or gotten people back together. And also, there's an oral history of the show coming out.
Wow. Okay, that's cool.
That we did with Alan Sepinwall, who's the chief TV critic from Rolling Stone. That's coming out in November. And it was such a really... It taught me so many life lessons, and I probably a couple years ago I wouldn't be even speaking as well as I am right now. I don't know.
Yeah. No, but
there's little things out there. It's just been a wonderful experience.
Podcasting is healing. I tell that to people all the time. Conversation,
yeah.
Oh, okay. And conversations are great. But when you can, because I love people and I love talking to people, and when you can really get to know someone, and especially for people that have worked in high pressure situations, when they can take maybe 10 years back. And not 10 years back, but when they can take 10 years away from it and then come back together, a lot of healing happens when they say, I thought you were like this, but you weren't at all. It was my insecurities. And I've seen things, and I've seen people go on to do great things together because they got past that. So it's almost like little mini therapy sessions that you don't want to tell too many people about, because then it's going to put therapists out of business.
No, well, maybe not. I had no idea. I had no idea that people keep coming up to me and explaining that it was healing, and there's some relationships that have been mended because of it. And also, I was told that because everyone had done the podcast, the speaking about it in detail for the book, which is a separate thing, ended up being helpful. And I don't know. I think we get to a point in our lives where we can look back and say, what did I learn from something? I remember something being particularly difficult, and also the fact that we all had different experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
Very different experiences, but you're standing right next to me, and I had a different experience. So I think it's important to honor all that and learn from that. So.
You're going to be with us all weekend?
Yes, I am.
Come meet her this weekend at Ottawa Comiccon. Melinda Clarke's here.